Second grade, today we are going to be finishing our outline for our writing assignment. So what we're going to need is this outline. So you're going to need to go find it. And you're going to need the story, The Dog and His Shadow. Okay, so if you don't have that right now, please put pause in the video and go get it because we're going to be finishing our outline today. Okay, so put pause, and then when you have the 2 pages, continue putting play. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to read our story to just refresh our memory about what our story is about. And then we're going to continue with our outline, okay? If you haven't finished the first part of the outline, please go watch the video from last week, okay? Because if you haven't finished the first part, it's going to be really hard to catch up on the second and then on the third part. So if you haven't watched it, go to last week's video and play that. You might need your parents' help to do that, but it is the writing video for Thursday of last week. Okay, so you need, if you haven't filled out the first part of our outline, then what you need to do is you need to go watch the video from Thursday, and then you can watch this video. Okay, so let us begin. We're going to read our story. Okay, The Dog and His Shadow. So we're going to put our pointer finger on the dog and his shadow. Okay, The Dog and His Shadow, attributed to Aesop. A hungry dog once found a large, juicy piece of meat. He decided to take it to the far side of the stream where no one could take it from him. There he could enjoy it in peace. While crossing the bridge, however, he happened to look down into the water. There he saw his own reflection, but thought it was another dog with a piece of meat even larger than the one he held. Quickly, he jumped into the water to grab the larger piece from the other dog. As he jumped, he lost his own piece of meat, and the stream carried it away. Since there was no other dog and no other meat, the dog, still hungry, sadly walked away. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to quickly type up all of the words that we put last time for our outline. Like I said, if you have not watched the video from last week, you need to go watch the Thursday video from last week. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to quickly add these words. If you don't have these words, you should have written them down last time we saw the video. Okay, so that's our first one. And over here we put hungry. We put selfish. We put sad. Over here we put afternoon. We put bridge, and we put water. For the third one, we put oh, I'm so sorry, boys and girls. Miss Santana got it wrong. This one goes here. This one goes here. And then we have one more, but this one is over here. So this one is dog, shadow, and meat. Okay, perfect. Dog, shadow, and meat. And then our last one is forest, side, and stream. Okay, so the first part of our outline helped us remember who the character is and where the story is taking place. So when we do these outlines, you do not have to pick the important words. Remember how we did that last time? Well, now we're doing something different. We're not going to pick the most important words, but instead we're going to add details to this story. So we're going to use our imagination to make another story. It's going to be similar, right? Because we're going to use a story to help us, but we're going to make up our own details about the story. Okay? So I'm going to ask you questions, and every time I ask you a question, we're going to pick 3 words that will help us remember the answer to that question. Okay? So first, I want you to notice that there are 3 Roman numerals this time. 1, 2, and 3. Now, these 3 Roman numerals tell us that there are 3 paragraphs. 1, 2, 3. Now, each paragraph, each number is a sentence in the paragraph, okay? So how many sentences does paragraph number 1 have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Paragraph number 2, how many sentences does that have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. And paragraph number 3, how many sentences does that one have? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I know this is different, and I know it might feel weird, and you might not know what you're doing right now, and that is okay. Okay, I just want to let you know that if you feel confused and if you feel like this is different and you don't know what you're doing and you need more help, that's okay, okay? Because this is new. So I don't expect you to know how to do this immediately, and I'm not going to have you make it by yourself, okay? We're going to do it all together until we can do it by ourselves, okay? So all you have to do is you just have to answer questions. It's pretty easy. After we do it a couple of times, I think you'll start getting the hang of it and you'll start memorizing the questions I'm going to ask you, because they're going to be the same questions every time we do a story. Okay, so let's go on to the second one. But before we do that, I want to go over the 3. So the first part of our story, anytime you read a story, the first part of the story is going to be about the character and the setting, which means who the character is and where the story is taking place. Okay? So we've already talked about that. And now the second part of our story is going to be the plot or the problem. And some of you might be sitting there thinking, Miss Santana, I don't know what plot means. And I kind of don't understand what problem means either. Well, let me explain it to you. The plot, it's just a fancy word that means the different things that happened in the story, right? The different things that happen in a story. So the plot is just the different things that happen in the story, right? It's the storyline. It's what the story is about, okay? And then the problem is, what's the problem in the story? What's happening? What's the issue? Why is the main character upset? What's happening? Okay? So for the second one, we're going to write down what is the problem. We're going to write down what is the problem. Let's see right here. Here is it. Okay. But before we do that, I need you to give me 1 second. I need to get my charger for my computer because it's dying. I'll be right back. It's just over here. Okay, I am back. I'm gonna move it over here. I can charge it. Perfect. Okay, so let's begin. So what is the problem of our story? That's what we're going to focus on today. What is the problem of our story? Or what are the events that happen in our story? Okay, good. These are all good ideas. So how about we put the plot? The plot is what are the things that happen in the story? Okay, so let's put crossed, because the dog Fred crossed the bridge and then fell into the water, right? That's kind of what happened. He crossed the bridge and then he fell into the water, right? So let's put crossed, let's put bridge, and let's put water. Okay? So I want you to write that down right now. Crossed. Write it down right now. I'll write it with you. Crossed, bridge, and water. That's what I want you to put right there. Okay? Good. Now, if you need more time to write this down, totally fine. Just put pause. Okay? And then when you finish writing them down, then you can continue putting play. Okay? So put pause right now if you need more time, because I'm going to continue. Okay? So put pause right now if you need you need more help or you need more time to write things down. Okay? So I'm going to continue. The next question that we have to ask ourselves is, what does the character want, or what does he need? What does Fred want and what does he need? Now this is where you can use your imagination, okay? But you need to remember what happens in the story. You can't just say Fred wants balloons and cake, because it's not what the story was about, right? So we have to stick to what the story tells us, but you can use your imagination. So what do you think Fred wanted? Let's see, what do you think Fred wanted? What did he want, or what did he need? Right, that's our first question. Well, I think Fred wanted, maybe he wanted to find a safe place so that he could eat his piece of meat alone, right? Maybe he just wanted to be alone. So let's put alone. What else did Fred want or need? He wanted a bigger piece of meat, right? He wanted a bigger piece of meat. So we could put bigger, or we could put a symbol. Remember, we can use symbols. So I'm going to use a symbol, and I'm going to do, now you have to remember your symbols, because if you don't remember your symbols, you can't look back on the story. So I'm going to do a really big B for bigger. And then I'm going to write meat. B, meat. Okay, that means bigger piece of meat. What else do you think Fred wanted or needed? Let's think about it. Let's see. It says, a hungry dog once found a large, juicy piece of meat. He decided to take it to the far side of a stream where no one could take it from him. So what do you think he wanted? There he saw his own reflection. Maybe, I don't know. He was super hungry. So he wanted to be alone. He wanted a bigger piece of meat. Boys and girls, maybe he just wanted to make sure that he had food, right? Because do you think Fred has a family? Probably not. So he's not guaranteed food every day. So some days maybe he doesn't have any food. So maybe he wanted to be alone, he wanted a bigger piece of meat, and he wanted to make sure that he had food. So what's another word, one word that we can use to mean make sure that he had more food. Maybe he wanted security, right? He wanted to be secure that he had more food, right? So let's put security. If you have another word, you can go ahead and put it down. Let's think of another one. So, because I think security might be a little too difficult. So alone, he wanted a bigger piece of meat. What do you think he needed? What do you think he needed? Or, you know what we can do? Instead of doing the sign, how about we do this? He wanted to be alone. And then we can put bigger and then meat. How about that? That sounds good. Okay, our next question. What does Fred think? What does he think? What do you think he's thinking? What does he think? What do you think he's thinking? Well, he clearly wants to steal that piece of meat from the other big dog, right? The big dog, which is just Shadow. So maybe he's thinking to steal it. So let's put steal. What else do you think he's thinking? Oh, maybe he's thinking about that big juicy piece of meat, right? Maybe he's thinking how good it's gonna taste. So maybe we can put steal, and we can put, well, he's also thinking of the other dog, right? So maybe we can put steal and we can put another dog. Another dog. There we go. Okay, and then our third question is, what do they say? What does Fred say? Does he say anything? Well, he doesn't say anything in our story, right? He doesn't say anything in our story. But we can, this is where we use our imagination to think about maybe some things that Fred might have said, right? And so we can use our imagination. We can put whatever we want. So what did Fred say, or what did he do? I'm sorry, what did he say? So let's think, let's use our imagination. Maybe he said, I want that piece of meat because it's mine, or I want it. So maybe we can put, what did he say to the other dog? Maybe we can put mine, because he was greedy, right? Mine. Maybe we can put confused, right? Because he thought that the shadow was another dog. He was confused. So what did he say? Maybe he said, I'm confused. He's like, I want that because it's mine. And maybe he said jump, right? He told himself, just jump into the water to get it, right? Jump. And then I'm going to use a sign, and I'm going to put little water. And I'm going to go like this, like waves, to remember. But you have to remember. Okay. And the next one, the last one, is what did he do? What did he do? Well, I think Fred probably barked, right? He's a dog. He probably barked at the other animal. So, I mean, it doesn't tell that in our story, but we have to use our imagination, right? He probably barked. What else do you think he probably did? Yeah, you're right. He probably jumped in the water. Oh, we already put jumped, so we can put barked. He probably jumped, and he probably got, he tried to get the bone. So maybe we can put tried. And then bone, right? Barked, tried, bone, right? He barked and he tried to get the bone or the piece of meat. barked, tried meat. Or instead of putting meat, maybe we can put barked, tried steal. Okay, so the second paragraph tells us what happened in the story and what the problem was, right? So the problem was that Fred saw his shadow and he thought it was a bigger dog with a bigger piece of meat. And so he tried to steal it away from him, and his piece of meat went away with the string, right? Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the next one, the third one, okay? So this is the climax or the resolution. I know you're sitting there thinking, I don't know what climax and I don't know what resolution is. So I'm gonna help you, okay? And again, if you feel confused and you feel like you don't know what you're doing, that's okay. This is the first time we're doing it, okay? So climax, what is the climax? Think about it like this. The climax is at the top of a mountain. It's at the peak. So that means it's the most exciting part of the story. It's the part that's like you're on the edge of your seat, ready to figure out what happens. Okay? It's the part where you are just so excited, and it's the most exciting part of the whole movie, right? So I'm going to try next video to show you some clips of a couple of movies that show the climax of it, right? So let's think about it. Let's just think of a couple of movies that maybe have the climax, the most exciting part of the story. So let's say Jack and Annie, and they're gonna go find the lost squirrel in ancient Rome. So the most exciting part of the story, I think, is when they find out that Mount Vesuvius is going to explode, and if they don't get out of there in time, they're going to die, right? That's the most exciting part of the story. That's the climax. That's the top. That's the part where you're just on the edge of your seat, so excited to find out what happens next. So in this story, we have to find out, for the third part, we're going to find out what the climax and what the resolution is. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know what resolution means, that's okay. Resolution just simply means when things get resolved. It's the last part of the story. It's when you find out what happened. And sometimes the resolutions are happy, and sometimes the resolutions are not happy at all. They end in a sad note, right? So whenever a movie ends, or a movie or a story ends with a happy ending, it's called a comedy. Whenever it ends in a sad no, it's called a tragedy. Okay. Have you ever seen those masks in the theater where there's one face that goes like this, and then there's another one over here and it's like this? Well, that's the comedy, and then the tragedy. Okay, so let's continue. So what is the climax and the resolution of this story? What happened? What is the climax? What is the most exciting part of our story? Think about it. What's the most exciting part of the story? Well, I think it's when he sees the dog, right? When he sees the dog and thinks, I can take that bigger piece of meat, right? So let's put dog. And then I think a resolution, the solution to the problem, is that his piece of meat disappears. So we're gonna put disappears. And we're gonna put meat. Okay, We're going to put dog disappeared. And then we're going to put with meat. W with the slash just means with, okay? With meat. So that's going to be my sign. So what is the climax and the resolution? Well, the climax is when he sees the dog, right? When he sees the other dog. And then the resolution, what happens at the end, is that the dog disappears because it's a shadow. And the dog disappears and his piece of meat disappears too. Which is so sad, right? So would this be a comedy or would this be a tragedy? Good, it would be a tragedy. Okay, so let's answer a couple more questions. How is the problem solved? Well, we just talked about it. How is this problem solved? Well, what was our problem? Remember, we look up here, what was our problem? Well, there was a dog, Fred, there's a shadow and there was a meat, and then it disappeared, right? So how is the problem solved? The problem was solved where there was no dog, exclamation mark, no, there was no dog. We'll do no dog, and then we'll put disappointed. He's disappointed. Okay. What's the second question? What happens after the problem is solved? What happens after the problem is solved? Sometimes we forget, so let's read our story to remember. As he jumped, he lost his own piece of meat, and the stream carried it away. Since there was no other dog and no other meat, the dog, still hungry, sadly walked away. What happens after the problem is solved? He sadly walks away. Do you think he's like wet because he just got in the stream? Yeah. So how about we put wet? What happens after he's wet? He is probably cold. He's sorry. Okay. Now let's answer the next question. What happens after the problem is solved? Is there more things that happened? So sometimes there's more things and we can add a second part, right? So maybe Fred wished that he wasn't so greedy. Maybe that's what he wished. So maybe we can put wished, and then we'll put himself greedy. Now, boys and girls, when we use these words when we make up our story again, you don't have to use the words from your outline. Those words are just gonna help you remember what happened, right? They're just gonna help us remember so that we can make our own sentence. So you don't have to use the words. So if I put wished himself greedy, I'm so sorry. So if I put wished himself, and then I'm gonna do a symbol. I'm gonna put like this, not greedy. I don't have to use those words. Those words are just gonna help me remember what happened, okay? And then our last one. What is the message or what is the lesson that this story is trying to tell us? What is the story trying to tell us? And I think the story is trying to tell us, what do you think the story is trying to tell us? Don't be selfish, don't be greedy, share. Maybe the story is trying to tell us that maybe the story is trying to tell us that you end up sad when you're greedy, that you shouldn't be greedy, right? So maybe we can put greedy, and then I'm going to put an equal sign. That's going to be a sign. Greedy equals sad. no friends. Greedy means you're sad and you don't have any friends. Because was Fred sad after he was trying to be greedy? Yeah. And even if the other dog would have been a real dog, he wouldn't have made a friend, right? He would have stolen it from him. Okay, so that is the end of our outline. Okay, tomorrow we will continue, and I will explain what we'll do tomorrow with this outline. If you need time to write it down because I went so fast, that's okay. I'll put pause right now, copy it down, so that way we can get this finished. Okay, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to text me and I will help you out with this. Remember, this is our first time doing it, so if you're a little confused, that is very much okay. We will get through this and we will continue to do this together. Okay, God bless, and I will see you tomorrow. Totus tuus, Maria.